FLC that said, the Charger's not great against aggressive compositions, but if you know the enemy team is going to be bringing in long-range threats, the Charger kind of wins that rock, paper, scissors. We've seen Ice use that Charger. This is a pretty open map, but we might see it once again. Let's get into it right here. The Charger is out from Ice, and Kaji is going to be going with the Splatling, so keep an eye on that relationship between these two backliners.
There are two different types of Chargers, and I saw both of them yesterday. There's people like Riolu from Sweaty Greasy Nerds who kind of just stays back, is that intimidating presence, but doesn't maybe have the huge KA that you're used to seeing from your frontline aggressive players, but can still have a huge impact on the objective. And then there's your Chargers like Not Pion from Galaxy Splat, who get the picks that you absolutely need to make a push, who get the double kills that you really don't expect, and that are from range that allow your team to excel, get that map control, and push forward. And I think Ice probably falls into the latter category, is able to get those fantastic shots off and make a push happen for their team. They were already able to get to 66. They've found another pick so far, and the Stingray has been used already. So Ice right next to the Rainmaker is not going to try and let it reset back to mid, was just a second too late, and so they'll have to expend the resources to pop that Rainmaker once again. But it appears that they'll be taking it on that ever-popular left-hand side path, and what a flick there! That's one thing you have to be very careful about when jumping down from those ink rails, is making sure a Charger is not watching you.
And you know what's been scariest about this? For the win is actually in a really good position now, even though I think they misplayed that about 2 or 3 times. You saw them let that reset. There were a couple other times they tried to grab it and missed. And even there was one last pick that if they got on Peppa Pig, they might have been able to get the knockout. But 36, still a fine push for this early in the game. And once again, the momentum coming out from For the Win. The frontline play of Shaq and Kyo right now is impeccable.
And you can see here again the NZAP not being played. Instead, we have the Rapid Blaster Pro Deco as the Ink Armor weapon of choice. That really does fit with Kraken Paradise's mid to long range preference compared to ftwin, who's running multiple shorter range weapons like the Tenatech and the N-Parries, that ever popular double inkjet composition. Plantro essentially using that baller to ensure that nobody is still remaining in mid, but here comes the Stingray. Gray does have enough of a path to push forward all the way to almost the halfway mark, and this push might not be done. Plantro with nice positioning there, actually missed that second shot, but was able to get the kill with the third. Unfortunately, did not see that somebody was flanking around behind them, so the Rainmaker is stopped for the moment. And ftwin with a nice stop there. However, they did lose a lot of map control in mid. They worked pretty darn hard at the start of the game, and they lose their Stingray. That was going to be one of their major defensive kits in terms of stopping this push, impending push by Kraken Paradise. They now have a curling bomb to blaze the path for them to make sure that they have somebody protecting the Rainmaker in front. The Stingray is available, though. Ice able to shut that one down, and they get so close and yet so far.
Wow, again For the Win. Got a little bit too aggressive there and kind of jumped out without getting themselves any middle control. Not going to make that same mistake twice as you see them pushing forward and taking it. But again, Ice with some of the most powerful Stingrays I've ever seen. That was effectively a triple that came off that. And now, if this pick is able to be gotten, this is going to go the other way really, really quickly. For the Win doing just enough. It's a 3-down situation. The frontliners have been pushed up. The Inkjets are up here too. And at the very least, they're going to be able to push it over to this left side if they choose to. They do go right here, but again, that's an aggressive push. Good defense by Kraken Paradise, but man, this match is so close. A razor's edge separating these two teams at the moment.
And ftwin is doing exactly what they need to do when playing against a Slosher. A Slosher is not great at handling anything other than a 1v1. It can do very, very well when engaging in 1v1s, but if you have multiple targets on it, it can be very difficult to know which one to focus on, and with that relatively slow time to kill, you're not going to be able to come away with much more of a trade if you're in the Slosher's position. So ftwin really locking down Plantro. Now they're going to have to focus on people like Gray and Peppa Pig. Gray being one of the mid to backline players who's ensuring that nobody's getting over to this right-hand side to make a push. Now has the Ink Armor to push forward a little bit, and the Inkjet to benefit them as well. Plantro looking for anybody that might be around there, just barely survives the curling bomb as well. And Kraken Paradise, with just over a minute left, putting themselves in a good position to make a push as long as they can take out these couple of members that have made their way to mid. And just like that, in a second, ftwin able to get all of that map control back and start another Rainmaker push.
And really the story of the game so far, has been the ability of For the Win to kind of push their frontliners up. You've seen that they haven't really let up putting pressure on the opponent, despite the fact that they may not have the Rainmaker that they're pushing. And like we talked about earlier with Splat Zones, it really is the same premise. It's just a matter of not letting your opponent build their specials and not letting that snowball get any bigger than it has to be. We've seen Kyo and Shaq rotating between the left and right sides, trusting that Toon here on this nozzle node is going to be able to protect them, and knowing that they have Ice's Stingray. But this is scary now. Gray is pushed up. They need to get rid of Gray now. They cannot let him wait any longer. And that might have been a bit of a bad move there. The Stingray is going to give them a little time, but they've lost most of mid as a result. Kyo gets the most crucial 1v1 that we have seen so far, and now it's going to be all up to Peppa Pig to try to make something out of a bad situation.
It's unbelievable to see FTW get taken 2 down multiple times and have just one heroic play save them. First, it was Ice's Stingray, and now this. I don't believe it. ftwin just barely clutching that game from the jaws of defeat, and they will take game number 1. That was, well, just something else.
That was the strongest splat bomb I've seen in my life. I don't know who threw it. There were 2 weapons on the team that could have thrown it, but that took out 2 people, and it looked like they had actually grabbed the Rainmaker, but I guess that was just after the timer had hit 0. What a weird, strange, but oddly entertaining game 1, and they still haven't lost a game. ftwin has not lost a game this entire tournament.
And that's even more of a feat when you consider the insane caliber of teams that they've been facing. Not just Set to Destroy X, but Synergy. Synergy was looking incredibly hot this tournament, and they were able to snuff them out immediately. Synergy was coming off of a 3-0 sweep over Komodo, and ftwin stops that momentum in its tracks, takes the 3-0 victory, and then does the same thing to Set to Destroy X. And now, Kraken Paradise has done a great job of keeping them busy, if nothing else. Kraken Paradise seems to have made all the right decisions. They've been getting those 2-down situations. They've put themselves in a position to push the Rainmaker by not overextending. They've waited to get map control in mid before they make a push. But if it's not one thing, it's another. It's usually Ice, whether it's just the raw power of the main weapon itself or the Stingray. If not that, it could be a heroic play made by somebody like Kyo getting, the absolute correct pick they needed in the last minute of play there, and then ensuring that that was done with the splat bomb. And we'll see if that continues to carry over as we move on to game number 2, which will be Splat Zones on Inkblot Art Academy. We've already talked about this map and mode combination a little bit. We haven't much touched on the weapons that they're likely to bring in. I don't expect many changes, but if something is going to change, what do you think it'll be?
Well, I think that the change I'm looking for is going to be Gray maybe switching off of that Rapid Blaster Pro Deco and either switching to the Rapid Blaster Pro or one of the other many variants of the Rapid, 6% radius nerf. For some reason, not quite enough to take it out of the meta. But I think that's going to probably be the most that we're going to see. I don't know if Kaji's going to switch over to the bubble variant, the heavy Splatling Deco. I know that Splatling players really have certain setups that they like for these maps. And this is kind of a tricky zone to take with bubbles because, again, there is that big art installation in the middle that you were talking about. It doesn't take the whole zone. It can still take a lot of it. If anything, maybe we'll see somebody switch over to a bomb rush weapon. I know the Splash-O-Matic Neo has been one that we've seen a little bit, some common play. I believe Hitzel was talking about it earlier. But like you said, I don't expect too many changes. This is a meta comp for all intents and purposes. So I think this is probably what we're going to see, and if that's what Game 1 has in store for us, this might be one of the best sets I've ever seen as we wait for these teams to get ready.
I would like to see Ice switch over to one of the variants of the Firefin. I think the Firefin is a very powerful weapon for Splat Zones. You can stay very safe on top of your platform and still have a massive impact on the zone by throwing that flurry of suction bomb rushes. If we do see a changeover from that Rapid to a different variant of the Rapid, it's going to really depend on what sort of play style they're gunning for. If they want to be very aggressive, the Rapid Blaster Deco is going to be the one for them. It still has that Inkjet. I mentioned before game 1 that Inkjets are incredibly popular on this map, and in fact, they get popped around the same time, so you'll see many 1v1s in midair. If they want to go a little bit more complacent, maybe have a bit more of an impact on the zone itself, you could switch over either to the Rapid Blaster that has that Splat Bomb launcher, or you could go to the Rapid Blaster Pro, which still can help you get picks because it does have that toxic mist that you can throw on the zone and make sure if anybody, especially the shorter range players, are sitting on the zone trying to protect it, you can lock in your prey and make sure that getting those 2 directs or maybe the direct and indirect is even easier. And then if they really need to, the InkStorm is there too. So if they decide to go with the Rapid Blaster Pro, they will still be making an impact on the zone itself while remaining relatively safe. And if they get at that far pushed up, that's not a bad weapon to have on top of that art installation as well, just because it can still reach plat, if only barely.
And unlike Kelpdome we saw earlier, this is a map that tends to change back and forth really, really quickly, because even though there is a wide open plat for your opponent to kind of assault you if you get locked out, it's not the most difficult to get back. They have to have an inkjet or something like that if they're really going to help you or force you back into your own spawn, rather. So I expect this one to change back just a little more than we saw on Kelpdome. Looks like all the players are most likely ready, Ice being the last one. Maybe thinking, do I want to stick with that charger? That charger was hot, though. I know the name is Ice, but that charger was fire.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know.
And the puns have begun. All right.
I'm going to put that one away.
And one special that we really haven't seen is cannon missiles. Granted, the 3.2.0 patch was released only 2 days ago, and so that gives tournament teams, especially because the tournament started yesterday, a very short window to prepare Tenta missile weapons and ensure that they're going to be effective. That's why I think we're still seeing a lot of Slosher Deco, even on modes that are not Clam Blitz. I feel like the regular Slosher would be a pretty good pick here for Splat Zones, just because you can use those Tenta missiles for anybody that's on the zone, and they have made it more impactful for you to lock on to just one target, because those 10 missiles will be surrounding them in an area of effect and will be trying to take them out. And if that's on top of the zone, that's a ton of free map control. But I do expect the Slosher Deco to make a return. It does have that sprinkler, which you can use either to farm up your baller or to just get some free ink on the zone.
Starting it now, Game 2, Splat Zones on Inkblot Art Academy. Taking a look at the compositions, almost no changes coming out from either team. You called it with the Slosher Deco coming back out, and Gray is sticking on that Rapid Blaster Pro Deco. And to the credit, it does allow you to play a different sort of support. You can be just a little bit more aggressive because you do have that wall. And Ink Armor, never a bad thing to have.
You know, of all the modes, I think seeing Stealth Jump on Splat Zones is relatively rare. It's more useful for things like Tower Control or Clam Blitz when you're trying to get back to a certain point on the map. I think the main thing we are seeing here with 3 members of one team and 2 members of the other running Stealth Jump is that they really are dreading being locked out. They don't want to get into that situation where they're stuck in their plat. They want to make sure that if even one of their members is able to escape, that they have an entry point. And it seems like Kraken Paradise is the team that was able to lock them in their spawn first. ftwin all the way pushed back, not able to have an impact on the zone at all. They just have one Stingray to contend with, but this is not a linear map at all. This is much more square or rectangular than something like a Manta Maria or a Walleye Warehouse. So the Stingray, you're going to have to be absolutely on point with it, and your team is going to have to give you those callouts in order to make it effective.
And you saw there, one of the things that we talked about from the Ghost Gaming set is how important the specials were for Kraken Paradise and how they were able to get themselves set up. That time you saw them try to set up a counter Stingray knowing that it was coming, but that time Ice's Stingray was just a little bit better. I know we've said that a lot, but the power of the Stingray cannot be underestimated. And the classic 1-point meme, you saw it right there. If you are tied, the tie goes to whoever got there first. So very unfortunate if you are in the camp of for the win, but great job by Kraken Paradise. That's not a lot of points to give up in a bad situation.
We were focusing on Plantro a lot there. I think one of the other reasons the Baller, the Slosher Deco, still sees a lot of play here is that no Slosher, to my knowledge, has the splashdown. So that is the closest thing you have to sort of a panic button special at your disposal. It will still have an impact on the zone itself, but if you get into a tough situation, if you want to play that Slosher aggressively, that's how you do it. You use that Baller when you're about to go down. Nice job here from ftwin, and this is exactly where Ice wants to be. Was backed off by the Stingray and will retain whatever they've built up towards their special. We do see Toon and Peppa Pig dueling it out. It will be a trade that will benefit ftwin as they maintain control of the zone here, and they are just mere points away from claiming this lead, and they will hear no 1-point meme so far. Neither team really have any specials so far. They're engaging already, though, so that's one thing that's a lot different about Splatoon is that there's no build-up phase, really. You just go in whether you have your special or not.
And huge plays there by Kyo, who actually won a 1v2 situation. And like you mentioned, that trade by Toon on Peppa Pig, that is not an easy trade to get. That is a Nozzle Nose versus an N-Parry duelist that is faster than you, rolls, and also can fly into the air if it so chooses to. So that's really going to be what gives them that big lead. We're moving back here to the lockout phase of the game. There is no build-up phase, but there is lockout phase. So let's keep an eye. There's not a lot of time here. The Ink Armor is going to go down. We know that a Stingray is going to be online soon from Ice. There it comes, forcing Peppa Pig over to the side. But that zone is going to go back the other way. And a second 1-point meme. Wow. We said that this map would be a little bit swingy, but this has been very, very tight so far.
That was actually huge for Peppa Pig. Peppa Pig barely staying alive. I think the Stingray gave up on them or thought that they disappeared. However, they did fall immediately afterwards. Peppa Pig using that stealth jump to jump right back in and make sure that they're a part of the action. Unfortunately, spending too much time painting the wall and not enough attention on the members of ftwin, trying desperately to pop that Inkjet, but the Inkjet not really known for being a panic button special, so they're going to go down almost immediately. The baller, though, for Cilantro is at the ready, and so they're going to be able to defend their position. They will take the zone over and start to get rid of their penalty once again. Detonates the baller, will not get any kills, will finally trade with Toon, and all that really does is back up the members of ftwin enough. Ice, though, using that Stingray in a great position there. They do have the wall at their disposal, and it does make it slightly more linear than if you were using it at spawn. That's going to help them with a 3-down situation. And now as we approach the final minute mark, Ice really cannot afford to give up this position. He has to build up that Stingray and sit in that art installation until they do.
And that was really a win-win situation for that Stingray. Even if those picks hadn't come out as quickly as they did, you're zoning the enemy team into another position where they can't easily get back to it. But because it got the picks, this is actually going to put them in a situation where the last one up is going to be the Stingray. Stingray cannot paint here. The lead swings back to the other way, and this is starting to look very bad. This is a timely ink armor that's going to help the members of For the Win push up on the plat here. With just 8 seconds left, every bit of ink they have is getting thrown onto the zone, and it's going to be just enough to stall it. Will it be able to turn it here? Shaq going to do his best to try to paint it, strafing around, and is actually going to keep it neutralized for a little while, but it does look like it's going the other way. And man, this is going to be it. The last chance they have. They cannot afford to go down. They are not going to have much time if they go down here. This has to be the win at this time.
What a team fight. You could hear Ink Armors getting stripped off left and right. Both teams entered that engagement with Ink Armors in tow, and Cilantro really getting a nice double kill there to secure this one. Peppa Pig way in their spawn will get 1 kill, but will not be able to secure it on Shaq. And Shaq does have just enough ink to be able to push in, and now there's 2 ink jets on the zone trying to stop the zone at 15. Cilantro again desperately trying to bail out his team literally with that slosher, and it's still being contested so far. That's 2 down now on the side of Kraken Paradise, and they cannot muster enough ink to build their specials in time. So ftwin going to be coming away with this one in the last minute. Again, we're seeing such a back and forth between Kraken Paradise and ftwin that even though ftwin has taken the first 2, I really do think this has the potential to go to a Game 6 or Game 7.
And doesn't it just seem like every time they need a special, For the Win seems to have one right there? Okay, their penalty is gone. We need something to take it back. What do we have? Double Inkjet. That'll force people off of the objective. That'll get them moving back. And just fantastic timely play and great composure too, because, I mean, composure is one part of the game that I feel like in the talk of the meta, talk of strategy, really kind of gets put away. But the presence of mind to know that you can build up your specials, know exactly how many people are in zone, and use that opportunity to force them out and stall that out. You'll notice they didn't take it back, but if you keep the zone neutralized for long enough, overtime does end.
However, but Cilantro has been doing a great job on the slosher, so I do expect them to bring that back, or even I hope they will try the regular slosher, but that might be a pipe dream for now. But we are getting into it. Game number 3, tower control on Snapper Canal. Let's see what these teams can do.
Looking at it right now, the Dapple Doolies come out. I don't believe we've seen the Dapple Doolies here coming out of Kyo, one of the best flex players in the game right now. Going to try to go just a little bit more aggressive, and that's very, very interesting here. Maybe sensing that since there's more frontline pressure, they're going to need to bring more of their own. And Ice started the game off with a fantastic snipe onto Kaji. We will see how this game opens up in the neutral. Zero already making the presence felt there. That's going to be a big mess in the middle and pretty even at the start.
Yeah, pick onto Ice and a pick onto Toon to start the game out. That's a fantastic start here for Zero. That's exactly what they needed. He was not afraid to get right in front of the tower and have an immediate presence on their push, stopping it already at 91. And this is tower control, so all 3 of the non-long range players for both teams are running stealth jump yet again. So this is something we're going to have to watch out for. Teams constantly jumping back to the tower to make that push last as long as possible. Now Ice, with that other Stingray done, is going to be able to use theirs. Cilantro will fall, looking for another kill there as Peppa Pig will just barely avoid it, but not for long. That's at least a double kill on the Stingray. Zero, though, trying to hold it down desperately, is not able to win that 1v3, and now ftwin finding more of their stride, and they will push it all the way up to 78 for the time being.
And anytime you have a 3-checkpoint map, it generally goes that the first checkpoint is not the difficult one to pass. It really is that second checkpoint. You get into the 40 range at that point. So even though that was a good opening, it took a lot for that to happen. Another very powerful Stingray. So both of these teams kind of know that was just kind of a minor scuffle, a little bit lost here. Keep an eye on Plantra there on the bucket, already pushing forward into that zone we talked about. Zero now coming over to help. And with Peppa Pig as well, this is starting to look very dangerous.
Zero employing the dodgeball strat of ducking, dodging, dipping, diving, and dodging yet again to stay alive near that tower, and it seems to have paid off as they've gathered much more map control here in mid. The left-hand side that you were talking about, 9, not really painted in their favor, though. They're much more interested in getting close to their spawn. Look how far up Zero we see so far. We can't even see him on the spectator cam anymore, which leaves members like Kaji and Peppa Pig to get anybody that's flanking around. But Kyo with an ever-important double kill there. Flank pays off, and it's a full wipe there for ftwin. So what could have been a monumental push is stopped at 87 only.
Great players make great plays. The Dapple Doolies, after all, if I'm not mistaken, with the fastest time to kill in the game, showing it right there, moved all the way through. The evil toothbrush, as some people call it here. This pressure's still going on. Kaji's going to have to run away and is not able to do so in time. We are now moving on to that second checkpoint. Ice going to have to deal with this bucket of Plantro. Plantro not going to let that one go easily. Going to hold this position, but 56, a nice opening for them here. This might be the end of it, but man, Kyo coming up at the exact moment needed.
Plantro, of course, never afraid to use this baller. Will get the kill finally onto Kyo. Kyo being one of the massive answers to somebody like Zero on the aggressive side of things. And the survivability of the Slosher Deco cannot be understated. Part of the reason why you bring that baller in over and over again is because you can get into those engagements. And yet again, we see another kill there onto Shaq, finally shut down there by Toon. But it was 3 or 4 kills at least before Plantro was taken down. And yet, despite that, Kraken Paradise not able to find their footing, not able to take the tower. They will have to expend their Stingray early, and Ice able to jump out with their Stingray still at the ready, and that's a consistent thing I've seen throughout this match. Ice, always the second person to use their Stingray, and always when that tower is on the move.
And now with just 1:30 remaining on the clock here, 90 seconds left, all these pushes become that much more important. The Stingray is up. We'll see when Ice opts to use it. Knows that there's just a little bit more time, that they don't have to use it just now. But with Kyo and the other frontliners stuck in really bad positions, it is going to fire away now. But we talked about it earlier. This left side is very, very pink or purple or whatever color you want to call it. And that means that Kraken Paradise has accomplished their first goal. The Stingray is now out of the equation. Now, can the frontliners get in back in time? Plantro going to use that baller and force Kyo back. This is starting to get very scary once again, though it looks like someone snuck in behind, actually. Oh, man. Again, a razor's edge separating these two teams.
You know, Ice with a nice trade there, but...
Was it 2 for 1? Was it 2
Ice
for 1?
Wait, did they really?
Ah!
Oh my gosh, Ice, I was gonna say Ice actually got a lot less out of that Stingray than I thought and gave Kaji enough time to build another one up all the way after Ice used theirs. So there was essentially 2 for 1 in that regard, but Ice's main weapon has been on point throughout this entire tournament. Now we see Zero attempting to use an Inkjet to some of the members that are closer to spawn, but they're going to be protected by that Ink armor. It was stripped off of Toon at just the right moment though, and Shaq going to be the designated tower rider. That's usually not the person you want on top of the tower. However, they do have their Stingray at the ready, and they're going to have to pop it now in sort of a panic button-esque way. Not able to find Plantro, but they are going to be dueling in midair, trying to find those drag shots and cannot do it with the last shot. Plantro camping that spawn out, and it is going to be overtime. Can Kraken Paradise find the energy here? They only have one special at their disposal. They're going to have to take out that Stingray immediately if they want to continue overtime.
And it doesn't look like it's going to happen. The counter Stingray is not going to find its mark. And we are now 3-0 for the win. The super team, 1 win away from a trip to Japan. And Zach, they still have not dropped a game in this tournament.
It astounds me. It is every team that they have faced throwing every single thing at them, and they still come out on top. 2 16 KAs, a 14 and a 13 KA for the losing team for Kraken Paradise. So they go in with a different strategy this time. They go in with a fully offensive kit. They do still have that backliner in Kaji, and yet it's still not enough. So it will now require a reverse sweep, 4 straight games for Kraken Paradise against a team that has not dropped a game all tournament. What a storyline that would be, sending a team off to Japan without a single loss under their belt.
and against the best that Europe and America have to offer. I know that has an asterisk because there is the age requirement, but the heavy hitters are here. I mean, there's not a lot that you can say about this other than that For the Win has just executed. They've done their game plan, and what a story here with Ice. We mentioned, and I stuttered over every word that I possibly could have said when that collateral 2-for-1 shot happened, but talk about snipers. I know that Hitzel and FLC, again, they did such a great job talking about why it's kind of coming back, but I think Ice has really been, if not the MVP, certainly the catalyst for a lot of the biggest plays that we've seen come out. And again, it's with Charger. Charger's back, baby. Charger's back.
And that's why I equated them to a Charger that has so much offensive momentum. They are the ones, not your frontline players all the time. It's not going to be Shaq all the time. It's not going to be Toon, but Ice, who's getting the necessary first and sometimes even second or third pick in order for your push to get going. And that allows your other teammates to have more survivability and get their specials more often. That's why whenever people like Peppa Pig or Zero would pop their inkjet, there was always one to counter it on the side of ftwin. So even though you're bringing in an offensive powerhouse in the form of Zero, your strategy just as easily countered by a team that's been running it all tournament.
And we saw at the beginning there, it looked like Kraken Paradise had the right idea. They seemed like they were constantly in control of the left side of the map. They pushed themselves up very well. And Zero and Peppa Pig both had some really good games pushing up and putting pressure on the opponent. But it just wasn't working. It seems like every game they execute the by-the-book game plan that should work. But there just continues to be incredible individual plays by For the Win. And great job putting themselves in positions to make those plays. To their credit, anyone can make a great play. But to do it over and over again, that's what makes this truly special. We are going to Wahoo World Clam Blitz, and this one is a wild one, Zach.
I do like that you said Wahoo with as much gumption as you could, really trying to emphasize that this is a Wahoo and exciting world. And it's going to be a lot different than we normally see on this map. Clam Blitz promotes a lot of movement around the map, consistently picking up clams and taking team fights in different places, whereas something like a Splat Zones or a Rainmaker, you might do most of your engaging in mid here. So you can see both teams taking a little bit longer to get to that rotating section of the map. We see Shaq trying to shark around, wait for anybody on the lower hand side of mid to poke out so that they know exactly when to engage. Now that they have the Ink Armor at the ready, they can start to regain control of mid, immediately stripped away, so they're not going to get the benefit of it. And I like Shaq's more measured play. This is something that we generally don't see from Shaq. They usually just try and bum rush the enemy team, but for now they're kind of hiding in the ink, waiting for their special to be built up, and because of it, they've already broken the barrier. That's a 2-down situation. They've gotten another power clam in, and the inkjet is already out, so they could lock Kraken Paradise in their spawn this early.
Kraken Paradise, this is not how it's supposed to end. Not like this. You are too good for it to end like this. Finally, a big trade there by Zero, but getting taken out by Kyo, who's going to stagger this just a little more. Ice adding some extra icing on the cake. That was not an intentional pun, I swear. But finally, a full wipe sending it the other way. But I love the way that all was started by that armor used to push up into the danger zone there in the middle. That was a very deliberate push, and it was done so well. And that's exactly why For the Win has won so many of these games. They know their strengths. They're not afraid to put themselves in the position to make those big plays, even if they are a little bit risky.
Kraken Paradise with multiple power clams at the ready. They are going to lose one, and now two. Kaji using the bubble blower, which is a special we haven't seen too much in this tournament, or at least this set so far, but that's going to reset so much of their progress. And look at how bunched up the members of ftwin are. That actually cost them a little bit, as Plancher was able to get a double kill, and Zero finishes Shaq off. So that's going to be a 3-down situation and give a little bit of momentum to Kraken Paradise. However, just as immediately as they were sent back to spawn, they are back in mid. Toon getting 2v1. So that's going to send them again back to the other side of the map. Flantra using their extreme range here to get the kill. And I think now it's going to be a Slosher duel as Ice will finally fall. Both Sloshers are taken down, and that's a double kill here. Still, though, despite all of the picks that Kraken Paradise continues to get, no progress made on the zone itself. We've seen a great job here done by ftwin to make sure the area surrounding the barrier is fully painted and not giving anybody, despite the jump in from Kraken Paradise, the opportunity to break that barrier down.
2 jump in, no clams, no scoring whatsoever. That is how it has gone this entire set for Kraken Paradise. They're setting up the plays that should work, and they are just not falling in. Sometimes you take the shot and it just doesn't work. But that entire time that we saw the push that you were talking through right there, they didn't get any clams until the very end of it. I don't know if that was intentional to hide the fact that they had enough clams to make that, but it seems like they just weren't doing a good enough job of building up the clams, and they continue to be punished for it right here. Just over 2 minutes left on the clock. They aren't even on the board yet. A 3-down situation should give them the chance to at least gather up the clams that they need to make something like this happen, but they are starting to run out of time, and they need to build up some assets.
Kraken Paradise just had and used all 4 of their specials in 10 seconds, and it was just barely enough for them to temporarily take down the members of ftwin. They were still able to build up a good basis of clams, but they have not gotten anywhere near close enough to the barrier itself in order to pop them. It is going to be a 3v3 situation now. However, the final members of ftwin are going to have the benefit of that ink armor. We see Shaq attempting to take on 2. They are going to be able to take down Plantro. Kaji backs off, as does Shaq. They really don't need to be doing all that much currently, as we are getting close to that minute mark here. Kaji's mostly remained on this top section of the map, is able to get a kill there onto Kyo, knows exactly when to back off too, so the bubbles are coming out. This may be finally an opportunity for Kraken Paradise to get in. ftwin loses 2 of their members, and it looks like they're going to lose a 3rd here, as the Ink Jet is going to fall right as they jump back from spawn. So Kaji unfortunately gets trapped in the Toxic Mist, had the power clam at the ready, and still it was not enough.
Finally on the board, some points, but there isn't going to be a lot of follow-up here. Plantro able to get a couple there to at least set up some more opportunities for the team, but that's going to be it. It's going to go the other way now. And what can you say about for the win there? Bending but not breaking. Toxic Mist making its presence felt as well. Just over 30 seconds left. They have to build a baller up right now. They have to do everything possible, and it has to go their way. I'm stuck. I am lost for words. I do not believe what I am seeing.
We're caught in a tough place right now, but they're starting to get the picks that they need. That's actually a 3-down situation, and it's only going to be the Nozzle Nose remaining here. They only have 10 clams, though. They actually don't have a power clam built up. Finally, Zero will get one and will break the barrier down, but they have a lot of work to do if they want to get anywhere close to that 18 mark. Zero going to take the offensive role here and try and use this Inkjet to get some picks, but they get taken out by the Slosher. It's a 3-down situation, and Kaji's the last one remaining. That barrier is going to come back up, and Kaji's all the way back in mid. Nothing doing for Kraken Paradise, and ftwin will complete the 4-0 sweep and the perfect tournament, not losing a single game to anyone.
The biggest tournament, the best competition, and they did not lose a game. If this is not a first in Splatoon history, I want to know what other tournament that happened at. I do not believe it. 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, 4-0, a perfect tournament. My broom is still in my closet. I don't even want the broom to see what just happened. I am stunned. I want to know what was being said at the end of that voice chat there. Like, if a microphone did not peak or get broken by the end of that, that is a huge waste. Chat is going crazy right now. I'm totally stunned. I can't believe it. Everything, every player, we kept saying their names over and over and over. Individual skill, coordination, clutch plays, games decided by single impressive heroic moments. But that's how it goes. For the Win is your first team to punch their ticket to Platinum Cup 4 in Tokyo.
Cannot imagine the jubilation that Ice, Shaq, Kyo, and Soon are currently experiencing. They have just won and earned, not just won by random chance, they have earned a trip to Japan coming up here very soon. And it is still not over. We have to keep in mind, it is still not over for Kraken Paradise. They get an immediate trip to Losers Finals. They have one more set to play in this tournament. If they win that set, they join ftwin in going to Japan. But they are going to have to face one of the remaining teams. Set to Destroy X does stop the phenomenal run of Stay Firmament by shutting them out 3-0. So all of those fantastic games by Stay Firmament give them a great final placing in this tournament, but it is not enough to get to Japan. So we will see Set to Destroy X again in the losers semifinals, but we will be coming in soon to Ghost Gaming versus Prophecy, and the winner of that set will be taking on Set to Destroy X. It's going to be a wild ride, and that was just the winners finals. We still have multiple sets remaining to decide our second team.
Our top 2 seeds, one of them will not be moving on. How about that? Our top 2 seeds, one of which, and thinking on it, maybe not that big of a surprise to some people, because we all know Kraken Paradise, a very similarly seeded team. We talked a little bit about that, but there was one other team, the super team, in fact. Wow, I am stunned right now. I have to take a moment and recollect what's been going on right now. Prophecy we saw earlier with a fantastic